Implied status explained. How to stay in Canada legally after your permit expires. Welcome back to Canada Chronicles. If you're living in Canada on a temporary visa or permit, you know how stressful it can be when your status is about to expire. What happens next? Can you legally stay, work, or study while waiting for your application to be processed? These questions weigh heavily on thousands of temporary residents every year. In today's video, we're unpacking implied status, a vital mechanism that allows temporary residents to stay in Canada legally after their permit expires. This isn't just a bureaucratic term, it's a lifeline that ensures continuity during uncertain times. We'll explain how implied status works, who qualifies, and how to make the most of this provision. Make sure you watch until the end, where we'll explore practical examples and critical tips to avoid pitfalls. These insights could save you from legal or financial setbacks. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Canada Chronicles and turn on notifications so you never miss updates about immigration, work permits, or life in Canada. Let's get started. Understanding the anxiety of expiring permits. Temporary residents often feel a sense of dread as their visa or work permit approaches its expiration date. Whether you're in the middle of a job you love, a critical semester in school, or deeply integrated into your local community, the prospect of losing legal status can be overwhelming. It's not just about following immigration laws, it's about protecting the life you've built in Canada. Without action, the consequences of an expired permit can be severe. If you let your status lapse, you lose the right to work, study, or even remain in Canada legally. For workers, this means losing income and possibly your job. For students, it could disrupt your education. Most alarmingly, staying in Canada without valid status puts you at risk of becoming undocumented, which can lead to removal orders and long-term bans on re-entry. This is where implied status becomes essential. It acts as a legal bridge, allowing temporary residents to maintain their activities under the same conditions as their expiring permit while awaiting a decision on their extension application. For thousands of people, implied status offers stability and hope during an uncertain period. How implied status works. Implied status is triggered when a temporary resident submits a complete application to extend their permit before it expires. Once the application is received by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, the applicant is granted implied status, allowing them to continue working, studying, or staying in Canada legally. The beauty of implied status is that it ensures legal continuity. As long as you meet the conditions, you are protected from disruptions to your life or work. However, implied status has certain rules and limitations that must be understood to use it effectively. Timely submission. Your application for an extension must be received before your current permit expires. A missed deadline disqualifies you from implied status and requires you to restore your status separately, which can be more expensive and restrictive. Activity continuation. While waiting for a decision, you are allowed to continue the same activities as outlined in your expiring permit. If you are a worker, you can keep working. If you are a student, you can continue attending classes. This continuity is invaluable, particularly for those in high-stakes industries like healthcare or technology, where interruptions could be costly. Within Canada only. Implied status is only valid as long as you remain in Canada. If you travel outside the country during this period, you risk losing your implied status. Re-entering Canada may require you to apply for a new visa or permit, and your previous implied status may no longer be valid. Decision outcomes. If your application is approved, you will receive a new permit with updated conditions. If it is refused, your implied status ends immediately, and you must cease any activities allowed by your expired permit. At that point, you would need to restore your status or leave Canada. Understanding these nuances ensures that you can make the most of implied status without running into unnecessary complications. Thanks for staying with us this far. We truly appreciate your time and hope you're finding this information helpful. Implied status. A lifeline for temporary residents. For many, implied status is more than just a legal provision, it's a safeguard that allows them to stay in Canada legally while continuing to work, study, or live without interruption. Let's take a closer look at the real-world scenarios where implied status comes into play and why it's such a critical tool. Who benefits from implied status? Temporary residents across different categories can benefit from implied status. While the rules apply universally, the impact varies depending on the type of permit held and the purpose of the extension application. Workers on temporary work permits. For those employed under a closed work permit tied to a specific employer, implied status ensures they can continue working for the same employer while waiting for a renewal or a change to an open work permit. In industries like healthcare, agriculture, or technology, where labor shortages are prevalent, retaining workers under implied status prevents disruptions to critical operations. International students. Implied status is a game changer for international students. If you're midway through a semester and your study permit is expiring, implied status allows you to finish your courses without interruption. This continuity is especially valuable for students who are in programs with strict timelines or who are transitioning to postgraduate work opportunities. Visitors changing status. Visitors in Canada applying to change their status to worker or student can remain in Canada under implied status. However, they cannot start working or studying until their new permit is approved. This provision ensures they don't have to leave the country while waiting for a decision. Bridging open work permits. For workers transitioning from temporary permits to permanent residency, implied status under a bridging open work permit allows them to continue working while waiting for their permanent residency application to be processed. This provides peace of mind and prevents employment gaps. Processing times and why implied status is crucial. Processing delays at Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada have made implied status indispensable. In recent years, the volume of applications has increased significantly, causing backlogs that extend processing times from weeks to months. Without implied status, applicants would face uncertainty and potential legal issues during these delays. Implied status ensures that temporary residents are not penalized for systemic delays. For instance, a healthcare worker waiting for a permit renewal can continue contributing to patient care, and a student can complete their academic term without facing disruptions. Travel considerations while on implied status. One important limitation of implied status is that it does not apply if you leave Canada while your extension application is being processed. This can be a significant challenge for those who need to travel internationally for personal or professional reasons. If you leave Canada, your implied status ends, and re-entry may require you to apply for a new visa. Border officials will assess your status based on the conditions of your re-entry permit, and implied status will not carry over. To avoid these complications, it's best to postpone international travel until your application is approved. How to apply for an extension and secure implied status. Securing implied status starts with submitting a complete and timely application for an extension. Here's how to do it right. Begin early. Start preparing your application at least 30 days before your permit expires. This gives you time to gather documents, correct errors, and ensure timely submission. Double-check accuracy. Errors in your application, missing documents, or incorrect fees can lead to delays or rejection. Double-check everything before submission. Submit online. Online submissions are faster and provide immediate confirmation, which serves as proof that your application was received before your permit expired. Track your application. Use Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada's online tools to monitor the progress of your application. Keeping documentation of your implied status can also reassure employers or schools that your status is valid. By following these steps, you can avoid common pitfalls and ensure your implied status remains intact while waiting for a decision. Why implied status is essential. Implied status offers more than just legal protection, it provides stability and continuity for thousands of temporary residents in Canada. It ensures that workers can continue earning, students can complete their education, and families can remain together while navigating the complexities of Canada's immigration system. This provision also benefits employers and educational institutions by reducing the impact of processing delays. Whether it's a tech company retaining skilled talent or a university supporting its international students, implied status is a crucial part of maintaining Canada's economic and social fabric. Implied status is more than just a legal term, it's a lifeline for temporary residents in Canada, ensuring they can continue living, working, and studying while awaiting critical decisions. Understanding and using implied status effectively can make a significant difference in your immigration journey. If you found this video helpful, let us know in the comments. Are you navigating implied status right now? Do you have tips or questions for others in the same situation? We'd love to hear your story. Thank you for watching Canada Chronicles. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss updates on Canada's immigration system. Stay informed, stay empowered, and we'll see you in the next video.